Welcome back to another edition of the City That Never Sleeps show. I'm your host, Brandon Pockris, joined as always by my co-host, Ryan Toomey. Ryan, how you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
Another good day to be alive. Not the best going on in the sports world for us right now, though. But, we got a lot to talk about. Can't wait to get into it.
You know, it's funny because sports can be very fickle. You can get the highs. We've had almost every one of our teams making the playoffs, making great moves, yada, yada. And then you have the flip side where all the teams get eliminated. No one's moving on. There's rumors swirling about what's happening with this guy and this guy and this guy. The baseball teams are scuffling a little bit, either in fourth or third place. It's not great right now. But as the name of the show implies, the city truly never sleeps, and neither does the sports world. And then, as a matter of fact, neither do we. So we will get to everything, and it's going to be another great show. I'm excited for you guys to listen to us talk about whether it's the Knicks and where they go from here, or the Mets and where they go from here, the Yankees, how they're starting to pick things back up again, this team, that team. It's going to be a great show. So without further ado, I think we should get into it. And I don't think there's any other place we can start besides the Knicks. So, as we have tended to have on our past few shows, I'm going to welcome back Evan Lawler to the stream. Evan,
hey,
how you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
Oh, fantastic. Just now I have to be certified for first aid for FDU. That's besides the point.
There we go.
It's a good day. You get
whatever that means.
It's a good day. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so with the Knicks, obviously they got eliminated in, I think, 6 games. Yeah, it was 6 games by the Miami Heat. Overall, and I'm just going to give some quick thoughts, and I'll toss it to you, Toomey, and then to Evan. This series really showed me a lot of what the Knicks did right, but more so than that, where they need to go from here. It really showed me the guys that are going to be the cornerstones of this roster, the moves that they made that are correct, but also this specific Miami Heat team, regardless of them being an 8 seed, showed the flaws in this Knicks roster and how they need to improve in order to consistently be one of the best contenders in the NBA. So, Toomey, I'll toss it to you. As really an outside viewer, you know, not a Heat fan, not a Knicks fan, you cheer for a team that is still playing playoff basketball. What did this Knicks series show you, and what's your instant reaction in terms of seeing the Knicks get eliminated?
Another Knicks season. That's just it. It looks as similar as all the seasons we've seen in the past however many years. But the thing was, they just look like a different team from round one. And I'm curious to see, because you guys definitely watch more than me, but round one going into the playoffs, everything was clicking. Everything. Not a guy. You couldn't bring anyone off the bench and they would not do their job. And from just an outside view, it just looked like the guys that were taking up bigger roles were not there to fulfill them come the Heat. And then once I get it, going into it, the Heat missing Tyler Hero, but all their guys were playing how they needed to play. Jimmy Butler didn't have like a 50-point game like he did against in the first round, but Jimmy Butler was an issue for the Knicks. So were guys like Strus. So were guys like Brewer. Is that their point guard? What's it? Their point? Martin, yeah. Martin, yes. He came out of the woodwork. He took Kyle Lowry's job pretty much as a starter. And really, I think he was one of the most important pieces. You guys got like Bam. Even with the Knicks, too, they have 2 tall guys in Mitchell Robinson, their other center. And Bam's what, 6'10"?
He's on the shorter side for center.
Center, but he's obviously still one of the best American. I think he is the best American center in basketball. And he showed it. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about it, but it didn't seem like the same Knicks that were going into the playoffs and had that first round that we saw. So I don't know. You guys would have more insight, but it just seems like they were a completely different basketball team.
Yeah, so I'll let you get started with it. We got some comments in the chat. We got Gavin saying Jalen is the star. I'm sure Evan's going to get to that in his comments.
Mhm.
We also got Colin in the chat saying what's good. Colin, hope you're enjoying the show, man. Thank you for tuning in today. We also got Jeff saying congrats guys on graduating. Great show, and look forward to what the future holds. That is true.
Thank
All
you,
three
Jeff.
of us will be graduating college tomorrow. So, fun times for us. Excited for what we're all going to do in the future. But back to the show. Evan, we both watched these games extensively. We both tuned in to basically all of them. What were your first reactions, and what really stood out to you in this series?
Hey man, I believe the Knicks beat the Knicks. I think they got outcoached. I think they got outplayed, and I think they beat themselves because Miami and the Knicks are pretty equal team in my eyes. They are on the same level. Jimmy Butler didn't beat the Knicks. Jimmy Butler played an average ball game. Actually, Jalen Brunson was better than Jimmy Butler in this series, and he's a star, and he's the MVP of this series, of these Knicks playoffs. My most improved has to be Hartenstein. He is a dog. I'm very excited to see the future with him in the Knicks. He played awesome. Nothing you can really do against Bam. You can't really blame anyone for that. He's an animal, and kid's a beast. Julius Randle, man. There's not much to say. I'm on the borderline with a lot of opinions. I don't really know. He's a two-time, all NBA guy. It's hard to trade a guy like that. Hard to get that, the talk. But the thing that sucks about him that I hate is that exactly Bam is a killer, man. He showed it these playoffs. The thing I hate about Julius Randle is when he's not hitting, it's his attitude, and it gets the team down. And that's a big thing that I personally, as an athlete, as someone who watches sports and played sports his whole life, that's the number one thing is body language, and I hate to see that, especially a guy that the team looks up to. This is an all-star player for your team, and for him to get in his own head, it sucks. He's an animal, though. I love Julius Randle. Don't get me wrong; he's done so much for this team. It's hard for me to say to trade him because I feel like we shouldn't. But again, you also have to think about Tibbs. You know what I'm saying? Tibbs, I don't know, man. Tibbs, do we can him? Do we don't? He's guys the Knicks here for so long, but he's so stuck in his ways. He didn't really touch the rotation. You got a bunch of good bench players. To be fair, the bench did not play that well. A lot of guys coming off the bench that could be very good. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions. I definitely think the Knicks, they beat themselves rather than Miami. Obviously, Miami's role players. Kyle Lowry played like an all-star, played like he would deserve to be in the Hall of Fame all of a sudden. But he's an NBA champion, but he shouldn't have been playing the way he did, And it was just a very interesting series.
Yeah, so that brings us to our poll question of the day. So we got the Knicks will trade Julius Randle. Agree or disagree? So those of you guys watching on all the different platforms, if you can comment, leave a comment below what you think. Do you think the Knicks are going to trade Randle? Do you think the Knicks are not going to trade Randle? So my perspective from watching this series, the first thing that really stood out to me, Evan kind of hit on it. Jalen Brunson is, the quote I saw a lot is basically the prince that was promised. This is the guy Knicks fans have waited for years. This is the point guard we've been waiting for years. He's able to take over games. He can score at will. When the offense runs through him, the New York Knicks play at their best. The problem was, but the guys behind him, right? So RJ Barrett is one of the most frustrating players I've ever watched, in the sense of he's so damn good at times and he is so damn bad at times. It is a matter of him not stringing together consistency. And it's not even just a month, but it'll be 2 months consistency. And then all of a sudden the bottom will fall out for a month or two. It's just not always there. And then you have Julius Randle, where incredible regular season performer, but for whatever reason, whether it's him getting in his own head or him just wanting to be the guy when he doesn't need to be, he just is a completely different player in the playoffs. He's taken out of games. He's taking bad shots. He's late on defensive rotations. He's causing, especially in this series, the Miami Heat to take wide open threes. Look, at the end of the day, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Kevin Love, all these different guys, if you leave them wide open, their calling card is shooting the basketball. Their calling card is hitting those threes. We're not even mentioning on top of those guys the fact that Jimmy Butler is going to get his. And Jimmy Butler didn't even go nuclear like he did in round one. But he's still going to get his. And Bam Adebayo is going to get his. It's a bad combination. And then your bench, especially with the injury to Emmanuel Quickley, but even before he got hurt, your bench wasn't producing to the level. I mean, there were games where Miami's bench was outscoring the Knicks like something of in the range of 40-10. That can't happen. You can't be running your guys into the ground, playing Jalen Brunson 48 minutes, Quentin Grimes 48 minutes, and then getting literally no production from your bench. That's just not basketball. We saw this in a series we're going to talk about a little bit later, depth versus superstars. The team with the depth won. The team with the better rotation, the stronger rotation, the deeper rotation won. So that, in terms of the poll question, this now I think leads us into some conversation of where the Knicks go from here. But before then, we got Brian saying, I think if the right deal comes along, they will trade him. He's been really good for the Knicks, though. Gavin says, I'm a Sixers fan, and I think your postseason was not a letdown. RJ's inconsistent, but he's a player you want. Randle hit or miss under pressure. And then Jeff says, question is simple. Is Brunson a 1 and build around him, or go get another star and make Brunson a 2 and go from there? If Brunson is the guy, you get some shooters, trade Randle, maybe get Cat, or see about Embiid through the Rose-West connection, in my opinion. So that's where you start, right? Where does this Knicks team go? And in my opinion, watching this series, it really comes down to the fact that they need shooting badly. They need more outside shooting. I'm of the mindset where I'm adding not 1, not 2, not 3, but around 4 shooters. You need to have guys that can space the floor. Why is that the case? Well, if you have multiple guys on the court that are threats to shoot the ball, RJ Barrett's game becomes elevated. RJ does not have to be relied upon to score consistently from outside the arc. He can drive. He can hit those mid-ranges. RJ Barrett becomes a more consistent player by virtue of not having to shoot as much. Jalen Brunson is able to attack more downhill, which is his bread and butter. You want to take it a step further, a guy like Mitchell Robinson might become a consistent double-digit player if you have more shooting that teams have to worry about. And on top of that, do you add another star to pair with Brunson? And this is where the Randle thing comes into play. Is Julius Randle that second star on a championship contender, a consistent playoff contender? I don't think he is. I personally am of the mindset of whatever happens with the Celtics the rest of this playoffs, I'm going after a guy like Jaylen Brown. And if Jaylen Brown doesn't work, I'm going after a guy like, let's say, for example, Damian Lillard. I'm getting a guy that can score, another consistent scorer to pair next to Brunson. And I'm turning Julius Randle into a stretch 4. I need another guy on that floor that can space out the defense, shoot the basketball, and really make things easier on the guys on your team that rely on driving downhill and rely on scoring the basketball that way. Jeff says, you need a damn center that can score from 5 feet out. That's another line of thinking. Do you trade Mitchell Robinson, get more of a guy that is more of a threat to shoot? You go with maybe a smaller guy, not as much of a rim protector, because you have Hardenstein, and you rely on a guy maybe in a sense of a Karl Anthony Towns, where all of a sudden your entire lineup is able to shoot the basketball. So that's me kind of spitballing a few things. You know, we obviously have a bit of time until free agency hits. We'll be talking about it a lot. But Evan, in that sense, are you on board with that? Toomey, are you on board with that? Like, what are your guys' thoughts in terms of where the Knicks go from here? And that's not even talking about the Tom Thibodeau question, which we can get into as well.
I guess I'll go. I mean, I don't know. I like RJ really proved himself this series. I'm very excited to see the future with him. Julius Randle is my big question mark because I don't want to get rid of him. I definitely think we need a new shooter. Gavin brings up a good point, but the free agent class coming up is not great. It really isn't. Like, there's nothing you could really say about that. I definitely think we need to add a shooter. It just depends on what we can get, who's willing to come. I think Brunson is that guy that's going to be the attraction to bring guys to New York, and it's definitely how he works. Like him, obviously he's an amazing ball handler, being the guy who can take care of the rock. But as Pokey said, that being that guy, letting him get down, let him be the two a little bit. That's where he eats. Like him in that one-on-one and doing his work. Like get a guy, where they don't have to focus on Brunson, even though he does awesome. And he was fighting double teams all night, doing amazing, putting up 41 points. Like it's still hard though for him to be the guy just to, that we can rely on to hit big threes and to be willing to, take a clutch bucket. Cause I hate to say it, like Josh Hart on that, if you watch that last series, that last drive where they could have tied it, Josh Hart was wide open and Brunson declined to pass him the ball because he knew Josh Hart didn't even have it in him to shoot that three. And he was shooting Rocky all night. So I definitely think that you need a guy that he can rely on to take the rock as well and to shoot from beyond the arc.
What I want to add was looking at the teams that made it now to the next round, Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals, going through the top two guys on those teams. Obviously, there's more guys that have important roles on the teams, but you got the Celtics, Tatum and Brown. Comparing now to, I'm guessing the top two guys, if you see it in your eyes on the Knicks, are Brunson and Randle. No?
Yeah.
All right. I take Tatum and Brown 10 out of 10 times. Now look at the Heat. Bam and Jimmy. I take Bam and Jimmy. Look at the Lakers. AD, LeBron. Even LeBron at 38 years old, I take AD, LeBron. Nuggets, Murray and Jokic.
You're taking the rest of those guys 10 out of 10 times
100%.
because guess what? Game on the line. The only team I'm even arguing that I might take the Knicks over is the Heat. And even then, it's only because Jalen Brunson. I would prefer Bam and Jimmy to Randle ISO situation in a last second scenario where I need a bucket. And he's shown that in the playoffs.
And for sure, to get onto that, it is to say how tall Randle is. I believe he's 6'9", 6'10".
I thought he was like 6'8".
He could be even smaller than that. Is he really?
Hold on.
But just to add on to that point, even though Randle in the regular season was a 25-10 guy, he did not look like that in the playoffs. And I don't think he consistently plays like that. I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of Knicks games this year, but I don't think he consistently looks like a 25-10 guy.
Julius Randle was 6'8", by the way.
6'8". So he's playing a power forward position with the height of a small forward pretty much in today's NBA.
Yes,
unless you have some crazy athleticism. So the
like
point
LeBron.
is, I think Brunson is a top 3 guard in the league. From an outside view, I think you guys can agree to that, especially how he played down the stretch of the season. I think the only guy that compared could be better is Steph Curry, obviously, and other things. And then you look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry was by himself in that round with the Lakers right there. Clay was playing poorly the last, I think it was 2-3 games. Poole was just not the same player from last year. They have their own issues there. And Draymond's a defender who can get his every once in a while. So the Knicks, I think, getting to the point, they need to find another 2. And it's where are they going to get that? Because obviously, a comment before, free agent class is awful, and I don't think it fits any of their schemes. James Harden's the best guy in the thing, and he's not going to the Knicks. Kyrie's next. Kyrie's probably staying in Dallas, and he's not the answer. Got guys like Van Fleet. Van Fleet ain't the answer. So yeah, I'm curious to see what path they go down.
Those guys aren't solving your problems, which is why, like, the trade market, which is the most fickle thing in all of the NBA, is your best option. There's no guarantee a Dame Lillard, a Jaylen Brown. We want to go a drastic route, a Joel Embiid. It's even going to be available. But those are your best options because Embiid solves both your shooting and your center problem in the sense of not having the opposing center clog the lane because Mitchell Robinson can't shoot. Jaylen Brown adds not just defense, but shooting, scoring, and would be that number 1 or number 2 guy. And Dame Lillard would basically allow Brunson to play the 2 and basically have the most dynamite guard combo in all the league. But that's no guarantee. I mean, you want to even throw a potential Donovan Mitchell long shot lottery odd into that. It's the same idea. Your best additions aren't coming in free agency. They're coming in a potential trade, which in the NBA, there's no guarantee how any of that works out. At the same time, though, and back to the question of the day, I do think they trade Randle. It's getting to a point where it's like he's getting you to that point, the playoffs, but he's not executing that. And we've seen players traded for less. We've seen coaches fired for less. We're going to get into it. Half the top teams in the East have fired their coaches. In fact, I think it's the top 2 of the top 3 seeds have fired their coaches after this year's playoffs. NBA is a crazy landscape. So I don't think Randle's safe. And honestly, I don't think Thibodeau's safe. I don't think he should be safe at all. Look at some of the coaches that have been released. I think Monty Williams would be an amazing coach for the Knicks. That's my personal opinion. Does it probably happen? No. But that would be the guy where it's like I'm looking like I'm doing everything in my power to bring Monty Williams here. Hell, maybe I'll go after Jay Wright and bring him to New York. Like there's just different options where in the same vein as Randle, sometimes a coach can only get you so far. And I feel like the Thibodeau-led Knicks have kind of reached their peak in the sense of I don't think Thibodeau is getting them over that hump, at least this iteration of the Knicks.
I think he'd be a phenomenal 3. He'd be a phenomenal 3. But
would he accept that, though? That's the problem. I mean, Evan brought it up. His attitude.
Does he want to win?
I think Randle at times cares more about his numbers. We see what happens when he doesn't get the ball. Doesn't play damn defense, and his attitude's terrible on the bench. When is he at his best? When he's getting the ball and scoring. Like it's very.
Never understood that.
It's just his priorities. It's very interesting.
From seeing him as a Lakers fan, that's when I primarily watched the Lakers religiously, and from there to now, he's a completely different basketball player. He integrated the 3 into his game. I mean, he was a lot more physical with Lakers, it seemed like, because that's how he had to be. He was a young guy trying to make a name for him in the league. He was living in the paint, getting active down there, and he's grown so much. He went from averaging 13 to 16 points a game to now 25, 24 a game.
I didn't see this comment when it came in. Who shoots better out of the 3 of you to be the 2 for the Knicks? I think Evan's got the center position on lock, but
lockdown.
I think I could light up the gym.
I think I got the shooting. I think I got the shooting
right now.
But Evan, tossing it back to you, is there like one pivotal move or like one move you want to see the Knicks do in the sense of putting them like on that path? Like, is it that Randle trade? Is it a Barrett trade? Is it going after a superstar? Like, what's that one move you want to see them make to really push the team forward to the next level?
Man, it's rough because like again, I'm very up in the air with trading Randle because like he's a dog, man. Like when we talked about this, like when he has that mentality of like doubt me, he's the best player on the court. Like when he gets that, when he catches fire, I've never seen a guy play that crazy before in my life. But we're talking about we have a Knicks team now that's going to consistently be like could be a 4-3. Maybe 5 seed for the next couple of years, and it's rough, man. It's rough to trade him, but again, I put it out there, and see what bites. See who's willing to shoot out what for Randle. I definitely think the coaching, to me personally, was the biggest thing. You're running guys into the ground that shouldn't be ran into the ground. Obviously, they're dogs, and you got Jalen Brunson, who's you need on the court for the Heat series, and you got Grimes, who you needed that defensive aspect. You needed him to spread out the court. You needed him to get the spacing and be a shot threat. You know what I'm saying? Like you needed someone for the Heat to be scared of at that 3-point line because we didn't have that all series, and he's that guy because he can do that. Just free agency. I am. It's not the best, but I'll see what the Knicks want to do there. But we'll, as I said, throw out a trade, see what happens, see who's willing to bite, and go from there.
I want to throw out a name just for the center position real fast. I know he doesn't really fit the scheme of a 3-point guy, but DeAndre Ayton. because I know the Suns they're looking to move him, and they have to make moves because their playoff performance showed that they need more guys than just 4 players on the court.
You see, my problem
with that in the comments. Sorry.
No, you're good. My problem with Aiden is, if he didn't work in that Phoenix scheme, if he didn't work with all that, it's like, is it a fresh start? Is it like is it going to work out when he leaves because he's like the 1 or the 2 in this instead of being like the 4 on the Sun? Like, it's just, Aiden's very interesting because with the way he is built, he doesn't play the way you would expect a guy like him to be.
I'm curious to see because I used to watch him back in college too, and he, if I'm not mistaken, he used to shoot the 3.
Yeah, but he's not. I think he still shoots, but he's like a bruiser, or he should be a bruiser.
But in the playoffs, he sits in the paint and he has a mid range to him, kind of like a little proner.
He doesn't rebound as good as you want a guy like that to read. But then again, if you're not giving up Mitchell Robinson, maybe Aiden's your 4 now, which it's like that. That's why it's not just a immediate no or an immediate yes. It's how does he fit with your roster construction? What are you giving up in that trade? What other pieces do you bring in to surround, I guess, your team of now, I would assume, RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, DeAndre Ayton. Like, it's so nuanced in the sense of how are you constructing that roster when you bring Aiden in?
Makes sense. No. I mean, he's not rebounding like a guy like AD.
No.
Who's getting, as of right now, 20 boards a night. It's looking like he's a lock for 20 boards in that Warriors series.
But also, then again, if you're re-signing Josh Hart, if you're bringing back Mitchell Robinson, do you even need the rebounding from DeAndre Ayton, or do you just need the scoring? If you just need the scoring, I think he's a great fit. So, like, once again, it's the balance. If you need to rely on Aiden as a rebounder, a paint threat, I don't think that's his best role. I think kind of having him be that rim runner, relying on the offensive side of the ball would be a lot better fit for him. Versus, look at Phoenix, they needed him to be everything in one for a center because they had nothing else in the sense of they had all the scoring, but they need the paint presence, the defense, and the scoring. Yeah. Versus if you let Aiden focus on one of those aspects, I think you're getting a better player. So I'm very interested. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a very interesting prospect I haven't thought of.
Very nice.
So speaking of the Suns, I think that's a perfect transition to where we should go next because, I mean, goodness gracious. Or if you guys want to stay in the East, up to you. Because we have 2 teams that we got to talk about. Like, oh, man.
Is the other one the Sixers?
Yeah.
The process is done. I guess is the nice way to put it.
You could argue that these 2 teams are very similar in the sense of there's a lot of confusion and a lot of mystery of where the Suns, where the Sixers go from here. I would personally argue that the Sixers are in the worst spot. In fact, I think the Sixers are in one of the worst spots in the NBA in the sense of they're in that purgatory. The Suns have Devin Booker under contract. The Suns have Kevin Durant under contract. They're going to figure it out. I think they're going to be fine. Now, who they hire as head coach, obviously going to play a role. What did they get for Aiden? What did they get for Chris Paul? Because it seems like those 2 guys are getting shipped out of there. I think that the Sixers are in this purgatory because, and I want to hear your guys' opinions on this, I think this was their year. This was supposed to be the year for this team to finally get over that hump, to finally make that conference final, to finally truly compete for that championship. Joel Embiid won the MVP, and he just didn't show up. James Harden, despite having 2 insanely good games in this series to win the Sixers games, to keep it this close, he didn't show up in game 7 or 6. Or
7.
Was it 6? It was 7. Yeah.
7.
So it's I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts because I feel like I have a very specific view on the Sixers. And I just want to hear what you guys are thinking.
From just they had the talent. I mean, James Harden's not the same player he was in Houston. Again, it comes down to consistency. And when I'm trying to look at anything in life, doesn't matter if it's sports, anything, you're looking for consistency. Because then it's just a roller coaster of whatever's going on, and you don't know what guy you're having. And you can't rely on guys more if they're not consistent. When it comes to James Harden, I think he's going to Houston. I think that's happening. Don't know what he wants to do down there, but he's gone. I never saw Tobias Harris as that guy. Tobias, you saw the Jimmy Butler clip too. He goes, they chose Tobias over me. They chose Harris over me. Like, that is crazy how they did that. But Jimmy's always been some sort of player in the league. We've seen that with the teams he's been on and the issues that have been there. But no, the issue is, can you build a team around Embiid now? Can you give Embiid a reason to stay and give him hope? He's seen so much downfall and I don't know, so much. I'm looking for a word, but his time with the Sixers has just been a disappointment when it really comes down to. I know he was it him or going off the Giannis quote of failure? I think it was Joel Embiid. He went on to say something like that too. But at a point when you keep losing, it does get to a sense of a failure. And the Sixers, do they start a new process? I think that's the real question. And I think they're going to have to, because Embiid's been with the team since what, 24, 15, 16, 14? Do you have a date?
I think it's been a good, 7 years.
It started with Michael Carter, Nerlens Noel, and him.
Yeah.
And look how the...
I mean, to put in perspective, Joel Embiid's turning 30. He's been in the league that long. He's turning 30 years old.
Yeah, for my eyes, they got to start fresh. There's no way to do it. Unless they can somehow get a new star, there's no shot. They got to stay fresh. I mean, he's 30. Guy that size, how many more years he got?
But before I even get started, to really think about it in this way, is his value ever going to be higher?
No.
He's coming off the MVP year. He's turning 30. He's had a history of injuries. Is his value ever going to be higher? I think these are the questions Philly has to ask themselves.
And no offense to him, he's a walk-in injury too. He's hurt a lot. 7-footer like that with that weight at that age, that's a red flag. And does he want a contract he's probably looking for a contract. When's his next contract? Whenever it is. He's probably looking for 7, 8 years probably. Even though they don't do that in the NBA.
We'll have to see. But Evan, in terms of the Sixers,
he doesn't get it. He's done.
What's your thoughts on it?
Hey man, I love the trust the process, but I think you just gotta, as Toom said, start fresh. It's rough. It really is. It sucks at Harden. I don't know what he shoot 3 for 11. I don't really think he just has the confidence in himself. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. He knows Embiid's playing on a bad knee. It's not like the other guys didn't play well in the starting lineup. You have three guys that have 15. 2 guys have 15 plus points. PJ Tucker, who's not supposed to score that much, has 11. It just sucks. I don't know, man. It's weird. I watched that game because obviously, I had to throw a little parlay on it, and I had him beat for 30. I thought he was going to clutch it up in 7, but it just sucks. I don't really know where they go from here. I don't really know that much about the Sixers just from watching the series and such. It just, injuries sucks. It sucks that Embiid got injured because that's their guy to play the ball through.
This is going to be one of the most interesting and fascinating off seasons because what the Sixers do this off season could set their path for the next, I'd say, 5 to 7 years. And what do I mean by that? Essentially, the Sixers have to decide whether they go all in on another Embiid window or look to retool and reset. So going all in on an Embiid window, right? Do you try to keep Harden? Do you try to entice him to stay? Look, they fired Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers apparently had a terrible relationship with James Harden. Who are you hiring as head coach? Some of the possible candidates have come out. Mike D'Antoni is on that list. James Harden had some of his best years with Mike D'Antoni because he thrives in that type of offense. Obviously, we've seen Harden is still a great player. He's not at the same echelon of the height of his powers, but he's still a pretty damn good player.
If Harden is a coach, I'm sorry. Is he still anywhere? Where is he? Is he assistant somewhere?
I have no idea where D'Antoni's been for the past 5 years.
He's been everywhere.
On it. Just his name just popping up on an interview list. I'm sure he's advising somewhere, senior assistant. But if you can't keep Harden, this team hasn't made it with the Ben Simmons era process, the Jimmy Butler era process, the James Harden era process. Are you now trading more assets for Damian Lillard? Are you going after Bradley Beal? Are you going after another ball-dominant point guard that is a consistent scorer to pair with Embiid? That's a risk. That is a huge risk because guess what? If you swing and miss on that risk, Embiid's requesting a trade in the next year or two because guess what? You're not getting over the hump. And as the clock ticks and he's 31, 32, guys don't play in the league forever, especially 7-foot centers. You could have one injury, bang, done, career over. Embiid, I don't think is going to be as patient in the coming years. Maybe not necessarily this offseason, but if the Sixers flame out again, he may not be willing to stay on that roster. So that brings us to option number 2, right? Retooling, reset. Like I said a few minutes ago, Embiid's value is not higher, and I don't think it will be as high as it is right now. He's turning 30 years old. I mean, we've seen it happen to the best guys in the league. The Vince Carters, the T-Macs, the guys that have been at the upper echelon of their powers but have had some minor injuries. It can all come crashing down immediately. And once that injury happens and athleticism is sapped, you're not the same player, you don't have the same trade value. The Sixers are also in this purgatory sense of they haven't been able to get over the hump. Their second star might be leaving, and quite frankly, the roster just isn't good enough. So if you trade Embiid, yeah, fans might not be thrilled, but you're setting yourself up for more future success. Let's say, for example, right, you trade him to a Utah, which I doubt Utah would pursue an Embiid, but they have the picks. You're getting those assets. Maybe you're getting a shot to pick one of these best players in the draft in maybe not this year, but the Bronny James draft and so on and so forth, right? Maybe you're trading with the Knicks and banking on an Obi Toppin and an RJ Barrett to give you that depth to truly pursue becoming a more solid team, have a more depth-driven team instead of just relying on the superstars. So I'm very interested to see, obviously, where the Sixers go from here. I'm not going to come on here and predict the Joel Embiid trade because we got to see what happens. We got to see who wants out, what his mindset is, where James Harden goes, because I think this situation is going to drive a lot of things in the NBA. I'm very interested to see what happens.
An MVP. I still don't think he should have won, but I think he should have won a couple years ago. I still think it was Jokic, but I don't know. And look where Jokic is now. Jokic is in Western Conference Finals with a team that I think has every piece to win an NBA championship. And the Sixers do not.
Yeah, but that once again, that Denver team's deep. They don't just rely on Jokic. They have a deep roster. So that's the big thing. We got My Holy King saying keeping Harden will make it worse. Harden doesn't care about winning. He just wants the ball. He thinks that the fans have had enough. Keeping Harden it just won't work. So once again, get it. In terms of wrapping up the round 2 series, we talked about it a little bit. The Suns series, I think I'm expecting big changes. I still think KD stays. I think Devin Booker stays. I think you have another letdown season from the Suns. That's where you could start to see the drastic. KD wants out again. Devin Booker wants out again. But let's see what a full season of those two does, because I'm very intrigued to see what they do to fill out that roster. And then the Lakers series. Toomey, how are we feeling? Lakers in 6.
Yeah, even though they lost 2 games, they were in control the whole entire series. It wasn't really close. Even the last game, I knew they were going to win by double digits. I said 30. They won by 21. They went against a Warriors team that really, I guess, blew their cask in the first round. and they showed that they're dominant. Everyone's down the Lakers too. Everyone was going into the playoffs. They made a lot of great changes, which we've talked about on the show. I'm not even going to get into it because there's a lot of great guys on that team now. And the Lakers just, I don't know. What was the big thing we talked about? If AD stays healthy, they can beat anyone. And AD stayed healthy. And AD's probably been the best player in the whole entire playoffs. Like, actually, everyone's talking about it. Like, he's been the guy. He's putting up numbers every single night. And he's just been dominant. So I'm curious. This is going to be awesome to see Jokic and AD going at it. Because when big guys and then you got the Heat. I don't even know. I'm sorry. I'm jumping around the board, but no, excited for the Lakers. And LeBron hasn't even really been playing like playoff LeBron. He hasn't had to, which is very weird to see. Because I think LeBron's whole entire career, he's been the dominant guy on the team, and he's passed the torch really to AD, and he's let other guys take more control. I mean, we see games where Austin Reeves done what Austin Reeves has done. Schroeder's been really taking the ball up for the team. Lakers got a bench too, just like Gavin just said. Lakers have a bench. And before that team was pivotal. Patrick Beverly, Russell Westbrook. The big debate has been if they give Westbrook a ring for all the stuff he's said to after leaving.
Westbrook and Beverly. Both of them.
Beverly don't. Ugh. Two guys, that's how they win their ring.
That'd
I want to go into a question after, but no, I'm excited to see game 1 tonight in Denver. My Holy King said he's got Denver tonight. Makes sense. I mean, it's so hard to predict. I've been so bad predicting these NBA playoffs, but your guess is still in for NBA Finals matchup. So that's there's something to look forward to from these playoffs, I guess, for you.
I completely whiffed on like half my selections, but hey, the finals pick still lives.
The finals pick still live.
Evan, tossing it to you. What were your thoughts on the Golden State and Lakers series?
I wish it was Sacramento and the Lakers. It would have been such a good series with Sacramento. I would have loved it. But it was it just sucked, man. And, I hate to see Curry like that. Clay just never came around. Jordan Poole played awful. It sucked. Like, and I love watching the Lakers play basketball though. You guys are ever betting, and I'm doing it tonight. Austin Reeves, 1.5 threes made. This kid makes 3 a game. He's awesome. That kid has been playing lights out. I'm very excited to see what he does. It was a fun series to watch. The Lakers, the big thing though is the Lakers knew they had to win at home. They understood that. They understood how important that was to not let that game go to game 7 and let it go back to where Steph plays his best. But
it is crazy. The free throw differential was nuts.
But no, so I had a great time watching it. Had a great time betting on it. Missed by a few, but here or there. But just I'm excited to watch. This is gonna be a really cool series to watch with Jokic and AD. I'm very excited to watch them go at it. And I feel like Bron's been saving his best for this series along because he knows this is the hump to get over to get to the finals. And if he plays Miami in the finals, if they somehow make it there, I don't know, man. Bron might throw another ring on his finger. Boston, different story. I would love to see Jason Tatum. He's been working his tail off. I'd love to see him get a ring. But I think Bron's about to play one of his best series.
Yeah. I'm very excited because, and this is a perfect transition into giving our predictions for the conference final series. You're either getting LeBron's 5th ring or Jimmy Butler getting his first, Nikola Jokic getting his first, or Tatum getting his first. You're getting an amazing storyline regardless of who wins this championship out of these teams. You got AD getting another ring, probably solidifying him for Hall of Fame status in my eyes, considering what it takes to get in the Basketball Hall of Fame these days. Jimmy Butler gets a ring. He's solidifying himself as one of the best playoff performers of all time. Jokic gets a ring. You might be able to make a Hall of Fame case for him already, and he still has a lot of years ahead of him with his play style specifically. And Tatum gets a ring. You're solidifying him in that roster as one of the best playoff performers and playoff performing teams in the past few years. So I'm very excited. In the East, I got Celtics in 6. I just think the firepower for Boston, and this is obviously banking on them clicking on all cylinders. I think it's going to be too much for Miami. I think they are just – I feel like the talent's going to win out. But if Miami takes it to 6 or 7, it's because Boston's coaching lacks mightily in comparison to Eric Spoelstra. Spoelstra is probably my favorite head coach in the league, considering how consistent he's been for years. He's proved that it wasn't just LeBron. He is a damn good coach. But I still got Boston winning this in 6. In the West, I got Lakers in 7. I think we're going to see a legendary series out of these two teams. You're going to see playoff LeBron truly start to turn it up because guess what? He can smell the finish line. He can smell that path to the championship. It's not like he has to conserve energy for round 2 and round 3. No, it's right there. So I think you're getting the best of LeBron, the best of AD. I think you're getting the best of Jokic, the best of Murray. And I just think the Lakers, with just the way they're set up and the team that they have, I think they win it at 7. And also, I can't go away from my prediction. I got to stand 10 toes down. We got to rock with it.
Yeah, when I come to mine, I don't really think I can say anything better than yours. It's going to be similar to yours. It's Celtics, Lakers. The storyline's there. These two teams are clicking on all cylinders. Maybe not the Celtics as much as the Lakers, but and I just the Heat. I don't know how the Heat have made it this far. I really don't.
It's because they're not an 8 seed. They just underachieved to the highest extent this year, which is crazy.
Until finally getting into the playoffs, getting that 8 seed. I mean, beating a Bucks team, beating a Knicks team, which was good, held them to their own, but it's got to stop at some point. I think it stops here. Celtics in 5, 6. Lakers in 7. I like that. Maybe in 6 too, but I'll go 6, 7 for that, 5, 6 for that, and then a finals, a classic Lakers Celtics. We haven't seen it since Kobe, but that'll be exciting.
Ratings.
I guess the refs are going to be on both sides of the Celtics Lakers too. So that's what you need. You just need the refs on your side, and anything can happen.
What will I predict here? I'm gonna switch it up, man. As much as I want LeBron to get chipped, I'm gonna go Nugs in 7. And it's gonna be a good game 7, like a real down to the wire, maybe a little OT. It's gonna come down to that big man play. It's gonna come down to LeBron hitting or missing a game-winning shot. That's what it's gonna be. And I'm gonna go Nugs in 7, and I gotta go Celtics in 5. I hate Miami right now, and there's just no way that they can hold their own against a team like that because now you got a team that really has a lot of threats that they have to look for. But the only way the Celtics somehow make this game go to 6 or possibly 7 is the coaching from Miami. That's the only thing I'll rely on. But I don't think they carve up the Celtics like they did the Knicks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun conference finals series in both conferences, and I'm really looking forward to it. And once again, like I always say here on this show, we're going to bring it all to you, all the coverage, all the discussion, all the different news about what's going on in basketball. Ev, before you head out, because I'm not sure if you want to stay on for the baseball talk, are you going to have bets for the games coming up, or what you got?
I just threw one John down real quick while you guys were talking about it.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Let's go just going with the gut. I'm going Bron 20, Austin Reeves his 1.5 threes because I believe the kid. LeBron's 8+ rebounds. He's at 9.5, but I like him for 8. I don't know how many boards he's gonna get, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of tip ups, a lot of fighting for the ball. I feel like he's gonna be able to get it. I have 80 for 2.5 assists. I feel like they're gonna take him out offensively, so he's gonna be looking to spread that rock. He's also been spreading the rock a lot in these series I've been seeing, so I think 2.5 assists isn't super unrealistic. Schroeder for 1 3, like literally, because his over for threes it's half. So I think Dennis Schroeder, because I think is he starting? Am I not wrong here? He started Game 7, I believe.
Dennis?
So I don't know. Yeah.
He's been the starter.
So I'm gonna go with him because I feel like again, AD's gonna be looking to pass that rock out. I feel like he's he sometimes gets a few open looks. I feel like it's too stupid not to take it. And I have Austin Reeves with just 10 points. Again, I feel like they're gonna be looking to spread the ball a lot, giving it to their guys because obviously the main focus will be AD and Braun. So I think those guys are gonna be open. Austin Reeves also has just been playing out of his mind, and I don't think anything's gonna stop him. But that's my main Lakers bet. I didn't put any first baskets down. I'm gonna hopefully hits, and I'll throw some first baskets. But if I'm gonna go from a bet man for first baskets,
It's tough. It's tough out here.
Of method of first baskets, I was feeling Braun, maybe a dunk or a free throw. I don't know. We'll see. That's like plus 5,000. So you never know. And then I don't think Anthony Davis is going to get fouled. So I was thinking free throw for Anthony Davis, but I don't really like that much. Maybe it also reads 3. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Those are what I'm feeling. Hopefully, obviously, the Lakers win the tip. But that's just, again, brings it down for all we know. It could be Jamal Murray for a dunk. Who knows? Life is weird. I had first basket Jaylen Brown for a free throw for Game 7, and he almost was fouled at the 3-point line. He missed the 3, and he didn't get the foul. He didn't lean into it. He was kind of mad. But then James Harden's third dunk of the whole season was the first basket. So you never know, man. Life is weird.
Yeah, but as always, we'll have Evan's bets posted on the platform. You guys can find him at his social on Instagram. I'm not sure if he has Twitter. If he has Twitter, he'll send it to me and I'll post it. But
barely use it.
Yeah. Well, Evan, thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you next week when we got some games to recap.
Hey man, Knicks in 25. I'll see you guys later.
Good to see you.
Always gotta love the basketball talk, man. It's always fun, and even with the Knicks being eliminated, these are exciting series. It's not like the two meh teams and two meh teams, which we've had in the past, honestly.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of excitement. I'm a sucker for storylines. I'm a sucker for the narratives, but it's gonna be exciting. So, speaking of being a sucker for narratives, to me,
yep.
New York baseball kind of sucks right now, doesn't it?
I'm looking. I think, you're getting after me. One team's on the rise, and it's the New York Yankees. I'm looking at my notes here, and it definitely ain't the Mets.
It definitely ain't the Mets. I can tell you that for a fact. You want to know what's funny? And like we talk about like who's on the rise, who's not. You know, as bad as the Mets have been, they're still closer to the division lead than the Yankees are by a full game.
6.5 games back.
Yeah, and the Yankees are 7.5.
7.5.
I mean, look, to be completely honest with you, the AL East is like one of the once again the best division in baseball because every single team is over 500, including the Red Sox, who are in last place, 9 games out. And if we're looking at it, would literally be a game out of first place in the AL Central.
Yeah.
Come on. The Yankees, looking at it, would be a game out of first in the AL West and would be a game up or a half game up on the Twins in the AL Central. They are 7.5 games out of first place. So, I'll be honest. Do we want to start with the bad or start with the good? Like I'm open to anything because I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll.
Let's start with the bad.
Okay.
I like ending on a high note.
Ending on a high note's great, even though we still got Devils talk coming up, which that's still arguably a high note because they weren't supposed to be in that spot.
Yeah,
this year.
true.
But I digress.
New York Mets.
The New York Mets. Damn. Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. So remind me, last time we were on this show, we talked about how the Mets had a soft part of their schedule, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? What games were coming up in the stretch of the time that we had before our next show?
We saw them. I know they just finished a national series.
So it was just after the National Series, right? Or was it the Rocky Series?
I think it was from Rocky Series to National Series is what we saw. Let me check, though. Got right here last week. Yeah, we had the Mets playing the Reds. Oh, God, no. It went from Reds.
Oh, yes.
Ending of the – nope, Reds. Yeah. Reds to Nationals, I believe.
Well,
yep,
regardless, the Mets they lost the series to the Reds. They then proceeded to split with the Nationals. And they lost 3-2 and they lost 10-3. In the biggest softy part of their schedule, the Mets, who have one of the easiest schedules in baseball, mind you, right? In their past few series, dating back to the Detroit Tigers series, they were swept by the Detroit Tigers. They lost 2 of 3 to the Colorado Rockies, losing games 5-2 and 13-6. They lost 2 of 3 to the Cincinnati Reds, letting up 7 and 5 runs in 2 of those games. And then they split a series with the Nationals. They now have games with the Tampa Bay Rays, series with the Rays, Guardians, Cubs, Rockies, Phillies, and Blue Jays coming up. That leads us into June and past Memorial Day, which then we could keep going and going, but at that point we're just a month in advance. We're killing multiple shows. It's bad right now. It's bad. I'm not going to lie to you. Is all hope lost? Not necessarily. But you look at the metrics, you look at the numbers, you look at the different stuff that's happening. It's just a bad team. Quite honestly, they are a bad team right now. And I'll get to your opinions in a minute, but it is so damn frustrating because the pitching hasn't been there. You want to go into the counting stats, right? Not going to look at the advanced numbers currently because we could go into that. But just on a surface level, you don't even have to dive into the advanced metrics. David Peterson. I don't know what the hell has happened to this guy. He is over an 8 ERA. Dude is not a major league pitcher right now. And just like the years when the Mets were consistently trotting out Jared Eichhoff, they keep trotting out this guy, and he keeps getting shelled. The dude is 1-6 with an 8 ERA. Pitcher wins aren't a stat. I get it. When you have 6 losses already, you're getting the absolute crap hit out of you. Tyler McGill, right? Fine as your 5th starter. He has a 4 ERA. Kodai Senga's been one of the Mets' best pitchers. I'm okay with that. Scherzer finally had a decent start, but he's over a 4 ERA. Really, there are only 2 legitimate starting pitchers that have been consistently decent for you, have been Justin Verlander, who's had 2 damn starts, mind you, and is starting tonight, and Kodai Senga. Not to mention that I don't understand what the Mets are making decision-wise with their bullpen, in the sense of you have your back-end guys like David Robertson and, if I can find his stats, Adam Ottavino, who have 3 ERAs or under. Robertson has a .53 ERA. You're trotting out guys like Jacobonis with a 9 ERA, Curtis with a 4.85, Leon with a 4.76. They're pitching Leon, a guy who had arm tightness, on like back-to-back days. The Mets are throwing their back-end relievers in tight games for no reason. And that's not even getting to the fact that this lineup is one of the most inconsistent I've seen. I mean, you want to talk stats? I'm gonna pull something up real quick. Crazy stat, but just looking at some of their hitting, right? on a surface level. The Mets currently have 2 guys with over an 800 OPS. That's it. Looking at it, they have guys, their main guys, Lindor's hitting 224 still. Alonso, who we were talking about as a borderline 300 hitter, is now hitting 230. Nimmo's been fine, hitting 316. In fact, it's been very good. Marcana has started to hit the ball a little bit. OPS starting to get up there. Brett Beatty is a rookie, but he has one of the highest OPS on the team. Obviously, looking at Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez has been one of your best hitters, and he's a rookie. He started off slow. There's just so many bad moving parts. There's so many issues going on with this team. And if we really want to get into some of the bad that this team has had, like it's just it keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not great right now. It really hasn't been. So as I'm looking for more stats, because I could keep going on, and I want to bring some more stats to the table about how bad it's actually been for the Mets. Outside of the fact that some of their best hitters haven't been great. What's your perspective?
Well, that's fine too, because I'm watching a ton of Mets baseball. I live with a guy who's a big Mets fan. It's always on. I turn it on too. And from what I'm looking at right here, so since we started talking about just their past couple series, I put their last 4 series. And you said a couple shows ago, this is where they have to turn it up. Because they played the Tigers, the Reds, the Rockies, and the Nationals. Okay? The Tigers are 12th in the AL. The Reds are 11th in the NL. Rockies are 14th in the NL, and the Nationals are 13th in the NL. These are some of the worst teams in baseball.
They're near the bottom of the league at every offensive statistic with them. Every single one.
What the Mets record? 4-9 in that 13-game stretch. 4-9. And now obviously they're dealing with some stuff. They didn't have Verlander probably at the start of that. Scherzer's going through his thing. Senga was a little consistent there for a while, but I think that fell off the horse a little bit, fell off the wagon, whatever you want to call it. His last start, I don't recall. Maybe he did. But 4-6 in the last 10. Just seeing that, though, and now they're going into games against Rays, best team in baseball. Guardians, very good. Phenomenal team.
Yeah.
It's worrisome.
All right, before you continue, I found One Shining Mets, one of the best Mets accounts you can follow on the internet. Please give him a follow. These are stats coming from him. Over the past 20 games, the Mets have one player slugging over 410, Francisco Alvarez. Since the Mets were 14-7 on April 21st, here are some of their individual WRC plus stats. So I'm pretty sure that stands for weighted runs created plus. 100 is average. Kana, 90. Alonso, 81. Lindor, 74. Pham, 68. McNeil, 65. Marte, 48. Guillorme, 21. You want to keep going? Let's keep going. Teams are hitting 329 against David Peterson this year. Cool. 25% of the runs the Mets have allowed this season have come on David Peterson's 8 starts. 5.9 runs allowed per game when he starts. Batters are hitting 329 with a 555 slugging percentage against David Peterson this season. Stan Musial's career batting average and slugging percentage, 331 and 559. OPS against the Mets starting pitchers this season, 936, 848, 790, 780, 756, 750, 737, 100 OPS. That's for Senga. OPS plus the league average. Verlander, 593. In order, that would be Peterson, Carrasco, Lucchesi, Scherzer, Budo, McGill, Senga, Verlander. Lindor is hitting has an 884 OPS against righties and a 647 against lefties. In the first inning this year, the Mets are hitting 188. That their splits 188, 292, 235 with 0 home runs. In the first inning this season, the Mets opponents are hitting 331, 438, 593 with 10 home runs. Brett Beatty's been unlucky because his expected batting average and slugging percentage is 280 and 463. And His actual was 240 and 360. Once again, a rookie is one of your best damn hitters on your team. I can keep going. Some ERAs since the Mets improved to 14-7 of pitchers who have given them at least 5 innings. Yacobonis 13.5, Peterson 10.3, Scherzer 7.56, Lucchesi 6.46, Tommy Hunter 6.23, Nagasic 5.59, Leone 4.76. On the bright side, Robertson 0, Smith 1.59, Verlander 2.27, Brigham 3.27, Ottavino 3.86, Senga 3.94. And on top of that, Tommy Pham, who yesterday was hitting number 4 for the Mets, mind you, is hitting 191 on the year with a 641 OPS. It's all bad. It's all bad. The hitting, the pitching, the decision-making we can get into, it's all bad. And where does the change come? Well, you have a guy in Mark Vientos that's hitting like 330 plus with 12 bombs in the minor leagues. But no, he doesn't have a defensive position, so they're just not going to call him up. They're just going to keep trotting out Daniel Vogelbach and Luis Guillorme and these guys every single day. It's so... And that's not even including Ronnie Mauricio, by the way, who's hitting just as well. So what's the problem and what's the solution? The problem is everything, as I've kind of said. And the solution is, well, play better, I guess. I picked this team to win the NL East. I picked this team to win the NL because I thought they would be close. Not the same team that won 100 games, but close. I didn't expect regression from every damn aspect of the team. I didn't expect the pitching to completely implode. I didn't expect the hitting to be literally on the level of the freaking Washington Nationals. Even worse than them. It's ridiculous. I need to hear your thoughts on where they go from here because I got nothing. I mean, you live with one of our closest friends, a Mets fan. I'm just speechless at this point. And the worst part is their season isn't technically over, but the last thing we're going to go over is it can be over very fast. And that's the scary part.
Yeah. So beginning of the season, we've been talking baseball now. They're a quarter of the way through. They truly are. And the big thing was, hey, let's just see 40 games. Let's get a 40 game little sample size.
Yeah.
And they're 20-22. If you like statistics, that pretty much means they'll end the season at around 80 wins. Somewhere around there, probably a little less, actually.
20 less wins than last season.
If it stays the same, which, again, how could this team stay the same? How? It doesn't make any sense. Verlander, Scherzer, Senga. Yes, they've been dealing with some injuries in the rotation. You got this guy Peterson, who I don't think he should ever start a game ever again. Watching him, he's atrocious. You said a great stat, too, with the first inning of opposing teams. Every single game, I think the opposing team gets a run in the first inning.
And what does that do to your lineup? We've played baseball.
You're behind.
We not like throughout my years, I've played with great teams, bad teams, everywhere in between. When you're down immediately, the hitter mindset is crap. We have to produce. We're already in a hole.
And that's the last thing you want to think about as a hitter.
Yep.
Especially as a pitcher, too. With a pitcher, I don't know how's their run scoring been. Like, have they? I mean, I see some games they go berserk, and then other games they score 1-2. I know the Nationals the other night they scored like 8-9 or something, and then the next game they scored 1-2. From a pitcher's mindset, that messes with the pitchers.
To me, they have no power. They have no power. They rely on the little singles and teams making mistakes. The problem is they are not stealing the same amount of bases. They're not causing as much havoc. You can win baseball that way, but the power is solely coming from Alonso and Lindor. And if they're not hitting, the Mets aren't winning games.
And I looked last week, our poll question of the day was, will a New York manager get fired? I said no. And looking at this right now, they've won 3 of their since last week. I mean, they went from 17-18 to 20-22. So they're on a similar just trajectory of just not winning baseball, especially with the Rays coming up. Do they play tonight?
Their last 10, they're 4-6.
Yeah,
Looking
4
at
and 6.
yes, they do play tonight. I think that's a perfect segue because I personally want to get in the Yankees talk as well.
Yeah.
Because Anthony Volpe, I mean, I love him. He's an amazing player, and I'm so happy that he's actually producing because Yankees fans suck in the sense of they try to run every guy out of town. Mets fans aren't better, by the way, but Yankees fans try to run guys out of town before they have a shot to produce, which sucks. But look at their schedule. I'm scared. I all right, unless the Mets literally flip a switch, how is this team competing with Tampa? How?
No, they're not.
They're
not.
Like the stats that we just talked about, everything we just talked about. How is this team competing with Tampa? They're not.
I just watched Tampa come back 6-0 against the Yankees with Gerrit Cole on the mound. Gerrit Cole gave up against the Rays. Gerrit Cole had no home runs. He hasn't given a home run to anyone else in the league. He's given up 4 to the Rays. 4.
The Guardians, right? Look, I get it. Their lineup hasn't been great. They have some of the best pitching in all of Major League Baseball, and the Mets hitting has not been great. Move forward. Cubs haven't been fantastic. They're a good baseball team. Rockies, guess what? Oh, yeah, Rockies aren't great. Guess what? The Mets aren't great either right now.
We just saw what the Rockies did to them.
Yeah. So our next show is Tuesday, May 23rd. There will be a full Guardians and a full Rays series at that point. I'm not kidding you, Toomey. And after we'll get to my baseball predictions of the day. I legitimately think they could be 5 or 6 games under 500 by the time we get to our next show.
100%.
I legitimately think the Mets could be the last place team in the NL East. There's also an equal fact that they could turn a corner and be 3 games out because the Braves haven't exactly been lighting the world on fire. But I legitimately have no idea how they're going to beat these teams. I don't. Like, maybe their luck turns around. Maybe their bats start heating up. Maybe the pitching actually limits runs to like 1 or 2 a game. But how can I have confidence? How can I have faith in a team that, quite frankly, has looked like one of the worst teams in baseball because they haven't been able to beat some of the worst teams in baseball? I can't. I seriously can't.
Would you just, I guess, last point on this, would you compare them right now to a disappointment of a season compared to the Cardinals yet, or no? Cardinals are winning right now, though. That's the thing. Cardinals are 7-3 in the last 10.
All right. So Cardinals are 17-25. The Mets are 20-22. Here's the thing with the Cardinals. If the Cardinals get anything out of their pitching, it's a positive. It's a positive.
Yeah.
Anything.
Their hitters are hitting.
You got Cardinals are one of the best lineups in the league. You knew they were going to start hitting. Nolan Arenado was not going to hit 230 for the entire year. Dude has like 4 home runs in the past 4 games. Like that was the part. Like, as concerned as I was about the Cardinals, it was more so for outside factors than just, oh no, like what, like they're playing bad. No, it was the fact that it seemed like dysfunction was brewing, and it doesn't seem that bad anymore. I mean, they're still 6.5 out, but they're making up ground on the teams. They're not so far buried in the basement, and also it's a long season. It's not. No one's out of it just yet. I'm just seeing too many warning signs from the Mets where it's like the Cardinals was just, why is this team bad? The Mets there are legitimate signs of why this team is bad, and I don't know if they're going to get rectified, at least in time for them to compete. It's a long season. We talked about it before the show. NL is one of the worst. I've never seen the NL this bad. There's literally 5 teams above 500 in the entire NL. At the same time, are the Mets going to turn around? I don't know. I need to see more, but how much more? That's the problem. It's this balance of like, I don't know. I don't like. I'm usually the optimistic one too. By the way, I'm usually the one where it's like, oh, we got time. It was a long season, but so much is going wrong. So much is happening that I don't know. I truly don't know.
And you can't know. You can only say and watch, and then complain or praise it. But I guess now, on to the Yankees?
We are on to the Yankees. That would be correct.
Let's see it. All right. Well, I do recall 2 shows ago we had a conversation when the Yankees were 15-15. We showed their upcoming schedule. We had Guardians, Rays, A's, Rays, and Blue Jays. I said they have to win 10-12. They're right now 9-4 in that stretch, with 3 games to go with the Blue Jays, which pivotal times because Blue Jays are above them in the standings. Their last 10, they're 7-3. They are still 7.5 games back, like we said before. But what we've seen from 2 shows ago to now, Yankees are handing the cover off the baseball. They truly are. I mean, they were in a stretch there where they weren't scoring more than 3 runs for like 8 games straight. And now they are really giving it to some teams that have been limiting the long ball, limiting runs in general. I mean, just to go into stats, I mean, they moved Anthony Volpe was moved away from the leadoff. He's been hitting 7 for the past couple games, and he's been having great success here. His batting average jumped 20 points pretty much in that time. He's hit a couple home runs. He's got 6 on the season. For such a very impressive young player, his defensive plays at shortstop he's one of the best defensive shortstops the Yankees had since, I think, Jeter. And even though Jeter wasn't good defensively, so he's putting up numbers. He's the first shortstop in the Yankees with an OAA over 1 since, I don't even know. It might have been even before Jeter.
For those watching at home, OA is out above average.
Thank you.
So
Rizzo's been 300 with a 900 slugging or OPS. Same with Judge, been 274, 957 OPS. Judge has had 4 home runs in the past 3 games, I think. There's nothing to complain about. The pitching has been last night, though. Boone is getting praised now again for how he did last night. They won 7-4. They were up 7-0 early against a great Blue Jays team. Everything's clicking. And again, you got guys that are playing consistent baseball now. And that's what you need, especially in baseball. Oh, God. It's either you need some guys playing consistent or you need guys to pick up the workload for the night on any given night. But guys are playing consistent, and then you have a couple guys who are doing their jobs. I mean, Willie Calhoun homered last night. They gave it to Manoah, who is one of the most hated players in baseball, and I see why. And finally, he's getting it back given to him because he's not having a good year.
He's struggling. He's struggling badly.
And he's been a Yankee killer, and the Yankees really gave it to him. It's funny, while you were talking about the Mets, I saw the Blue Jays posted something. They're saying the Yankees are tipping pitches, which is completely illegal.
Do you want to get into this? Because I have some thoughts
about tipping pitches.
No, about this whole situation.
Oh, go for it, please.
Okay, I get it, right? The whole Astros thing. I get it. I get how serious that was. It was a very serious thing because with how good major league players are, for them to have an advantage as big as that can tip the balance of an entire game. Can we stop crying wolf every single time we think like someone's lighting us up? Guess what? Before all this happened, it was still very possible to tip your pitches. It's called gamesmanship. Steal signs. If you suck at concealing your signs, there's some very smart people that play baseball. Someone's going to figure it out. I figured it out before. You figured it out before.
Yes.
And guess what? Once that happens, and all of a sudden the offense is scoring 7 runs, 6 runs, and all of a sudden you're just absolutely throttling a team, guess what? It is on you now to make a change. It is on you to fix that problem. Oh, glancing at the dugout. Guess what? Because the guys in the dugout are probably understanding, hey, this guy's tipping his pitches. this guy's doing the same mannerism every time he's throwing a curveball, or this guy's doing the same mannerism every time he's throwing a fastball. Can we stop crying wolf about, oh, they're cheating, they have a camera? Shut up. Honestly, grow up.
And like, you know what?
And this is coming from a Mets fan. I dislike the Yankees a lot. They're not like, it's not that serious. It really isn't. You think teams are that stupid? Come on.
And you know what they're saying it is too?
What?
Which is completely legal. They're saying that Judge was looking over the first base coach and he was either crossing his arms or not crossing his arms. That's completely legal. That's baseball.
That's literally baseball.
I don't know if I'm blowing a gasket on someone because I think it's very known that at every level of baseball, baseball is so hard, especially hitting. You have milliseconds. When you're talking about sport and you have milliseconds to make a decision on something, that's hard. Seconds are like this. Milliseconds are even quicker. Guys at every level of baseball are doing something to give them an advantage.
I would have taken.
It's been baseball for years.
I would have taken every single advantage possible given to me. Every single one. Dude, if I for crying out loud, when I played, if someone told me, oh, if this happens, a fastball's coming, you bet your ass I'm looking for that. You bet I'm looking. Oh, look, he tilted his glove. Okay, fastball. Boom. All of a sudden, I'm hitting a double in the gap. Guess what? My batting average is going up.
Yeah.
I'm looking better. And guess what? You got to fix that problem now.
At every level of baseball, there is some sort of cheating. It doesn't matter if it's using pine tar or something to give a pitcher advantage, sign stealing. That's one of the things we focus on.
Yeah.
When we play college baseball, you're looking at the pitcher the whole time to try and figure if he's tipping anything at all.
We literally spent an hour a day at practicing stealing signs.
On base pass, too.
On base pass.
Timing.
That was, to me, do you remember we literally spent an hour practicing a specific lead to steal signs from the catcher?
Yeah. And everyone's doing it. Everyone does it. It's a part of the game. It's what makes the game good. What gives teams advantages. And you know what? Who's better at it? I don't even think it's cheating, really.
No, it's not.
On fault with the catcher, pitcher, coach giving the signs. It truly is. And it's a part of the game. It's really one of the deep details of the game that really, I think, makes it just the great game that it is.
So my response, to encompass everything we just talked about, my response is fix your signs and honestly get good. Get good. Nice. Like, hey, guess what? You mad? Strike them out. Don't hang stuff. Like, and that's the thing. The pitch they're complaining about, it's a freaking hanging slider. What do you think a guy that hit 62 home runs is going to do with the hanging slider? Pop up? Come on. Honestly.
It was funny against the Rays the other day when he had his other 2 home run game. Watching the game, pitcher threw a slider, meaty, left it kind of over, but threw it away. And I go, he's going to throw a slider this pitch, and he's going to hang it, and Judge is going to send it to the moon. And then his exact next pitch, slider, hanging it. These guys are so good. You give them any advantage, especially a guy like Aaron Judge. But away from all the cheating stuff, the Yankees have been playing really good baseball. They're really turning around. They can finally win without Gerrit Cole on the mound, which is very cool to watch.
Update the Mets option David Peterson to AAA. So they called up.
The guy should not be pitching in the MLB, and
they called up a lefty, Josh Walker, who I'm going to be honest, as much as I follow this team and as much as I am very interested in this team, I don't know who that is.
I guess we'll find out when. Is he a starter, I'm guessing, or is he a reliever?
I think he's a reliever.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But gonna look at some baseball bets before we move on to discussing our last 2 topics, because sports world's crazy. We got some hockey talk, and then we're gonna talk some NFL schedule, because I didn't feel like talking about that when we had some other pressing matters to get to in terms of the sports world. But looking at the both the Mets and Yankees upcoming schedule, I think the Mets are lucky if they win 3 games. And it's not biased, it's just the way that they've been playing. And maybe that's me being a prisoner in the moment. I just have not seen a way that they win more than that amount of games against two very good teams in the Guardians and the Rays. So looking at the MLB picks for today, we're gonna take the over in the Angels-Orioles game because, first of all, Grayson Rodriguez and Shohei Ohtani pitched yesterday, and I'm pretty sure those two teams scored like 16 combined runs. 16 combined runs. Or something crazy like that. I'm taking over in this game. These are two great teams, two great lineups. It's Dean Kramer versus C. Silvset. I've never heard of this dude pitching for the Angels, so we're taking the over. The next one, we're going to go with we'll go Red Sox plus 1.5 against the Mariners. Two very good teams. Even with the Red Sox being in last place in the AL East, guess what? They're over 500. The AL East is filled with a bunch of juggernauts. I think the Red Sox keep it close against the Mariners. And then lastly, well, I guess we're going to hedge to me. I'm going to take Tampa Bay Rays money line. If this doesn't hit, guess what? The Mets won. But even with Verlander on the mound, I think Verlander has a good start. I have no faith in this Mets bullpen getting to David Robertson and Ottavino, but we shall find out. You wanna add a pick onto the parlay, or
I would like to actually. Yeah, let's see it.
Okay.
And I did want to say too, just with Yankees news too, just in general. The next two guys back are going to be Donaldson and Stanton. Whenever they do, it should be in the coming days. Even though people like to rip on Donaldson a lot, it is good to get depth back into the roster for sure. And then on the news of Carlos Rodon, more Rodon news. He suspected, hopefully, is not going to have to get his next cortisone shot in his back, which means that he should, I don't know, something's moving in the right direction with him. But we ranted about that last week. I don't even want to talk about it, but that's the news. Donaldson, Stan are going to be the next two guys back, which is going to be great because the lineup is lacking. And, hey, they're in a good spot right now. So, you said Orioles, Angels over, right?
Yeah,
I would just Orioles money line. I like them.
Orioles money line. All right.
Angels are gonna fall apart. They're gonna trading Shohei Ohtani, and that's how the season's gonna go.
So I gotta make sure I have some. Yeah, there we go. So how much you want to put on? One or two?
One or two what?
$2 for the parlay.
Oh, go two.
All right.
Reaching
so $2 to win 24. There is your city that never sleeps MLB parlay of the day. Stay tuned to see how we fare. Going to start getting more of those up as we are graduating college. We are to have a bit more time on our hands. Crazy as that sounds, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. I hope Toomey's pick doesn't tank me today. Doesn't tank me from winning the 24. But as we always say. Stay tuned for more baseball talk. As you can see, my Mets rants keep elevating in scale of how I am approaching them. And hopefully we don't reach levels of Francesa and Mad Dog. But hey, if we do, you guys are going to get a very entertaining show. So it's a win-win for all the listeners. And on that note, I think it's time to transition to the NHL. But before we do, I want to remind you guys that Creative Wheel Design Center, serving New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. They're fully authorized Hunter Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff at 609-226-0391 for a free consultation. Also, All Camp is giving 20% off everything in their store, including hats and shirts to all their subscribers. Make sure to get in on that. To me, I think I'm a jinx for you.
Yeah.
I think.
Your friend of yours is a jinx for the Devils franchise, but
well, do you want to start with my jinx that I had or my friend's jinx?
Go with yours.
Okay. So, and this is, by the way, completely unintentional. Toomey was at, what was it, game 6 or 5?
4.
4? What? Did it end in 5?
Ended in 5, yeah.
Okay. Toomey's at game 4. Devils went up 1-0, and I texted to me saying, "Hey, Devils look good so far. Up 1-0."
They did.
They did look good. And then the Hurricanes proceeded to score. I think it was 5 straight goals.
6.
6, yeah, 6 straight goals.
Yeah.
And
4 of them in the span of 5 minutes.
I literally was beside myself because I texted him, and no less than 5 minutes afterwards, there was 3 goals scored. I was like, "Oh no!"
Well, no, that came in the second. It ended. First period ended 1-1, but the second period was.
It was ridiculous.
The Devils were not the same.
I was thinking to myself, I was like, I've really screwed up. I've really jinxed it. But my friend, Mr. Jack Pettit, if you are listening, what's up? He went to 3 playoff games, and I don't think he saw a single Devils win. He saw 2 Rangers blowouts, and he saw a Canes blowout. So that's just the most unlucky thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. But hey, to get back to the analysis portion, I'll start off with my thoughts and I'll let you get into it. I don't think there's anything to be mad about if you're Jersey. No. Carolina has been a juggernaut in the East for years. They have basically, outside of Boston, been the bar you had to clear. Well, Boston and Tampa. But they've been the bar you had to clear, at least in the Metro, to really contend for a cup, contend for making it to the cup. And the fact that the Devils played them as close as they did, I think that's a good sign. But also, let's face it, this is something we discussed. Devils just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes took care of business. They had rest. Guess what? Devils played a insanely tight series, Game 7, wire to wire, bloodbath with the New York Rangers. You watch that series, every single one of those games was tight, tough, contested, outside of really Game 7. But even then, it was still very physical. They didn't have that same level of speed consistently that they had in that Rangers series. They took time for them to get their legs underneath them. And by the time that happened, Carolina was already off and running. It's tough. But honestly, if I'm a Devils fan, I'm not complaining about anything. I'm happy. Truly.
No, yeah. Nope, definitely not upset. That was a hell of a season. They were not expected to even. Beginning of the year, I remember looking at the betting odds, and they were plus 130 to make the playoffs. Vegas had them, which they gave them some hope. They were really not supposed to make it. Lindy Ruff was supposed to be the first coach fired, was getting fire Lindy chance after the second game of the season, and then they went on to end up ultimately having that 13-game win streak, which really just paved the way for the rest of the season. When it came down to the final games in the playoffs, though, they did look slow. They came off a big series with the Rangers, which was ultimately just very tiring for them. It seemed like Vitek Vanacek was tired from the season. It looked like he was not the same goalie that he was the first half. And it was noticeable at the end of the regular season as well. Akir Schmid, that was awesome to see that he could have those performances he did in the playoffs, but against the Hurricanes, it was not evident really. I knew that game too. Right when I saw Vitek warming up Game 4 in the net, I was like, he's not the guy for this game. He really isn't. He's a smaller type goalie. In the new age of goalie in NHL, these guys are big. Like Akira's 6'5". A lot of the top guys are big boys, and the age of the smaller goalie is kind of dying unless you can really bring it in every night. Oh, other things. Yeah. Luke Hughes was not meant to be playing in playoffs. He truly isn't. He's 19. The game is so much faster than in college, which he's used to. But he's an offensive player. Defensively, he'll figure it out. He's 19 years old, for God's sakes. He should be a freshman. He was a freshman in college. Weird. But he's playing against grown men on the Hurricanes who, tip the cap to him, though. That was awesome. But just to touch on the points, Hurricanes were a team full of men, and they were the whole season, very fast, really controlled every game they were in. And if the Devils could have pulled that off, that would have been immaculate, insane. But coming on to the next years, they got a bunch of guys coming up. They got a good goalie in Nico Dawes who could maybe turn into something. Nemec is another defender that's going to come up. And, playoff experience. The big things that they were comparing every team to the Devils this year was the Devils did not have playoff experience. And just to get their foot in the door this season and to learn about it, the future is very bright. Happy to see it. Can't wait for the next couple of years because they really got something going with Hughes, Heishier, Dougie. See if they sign Jesper and Timo this offseason. So there's a lot of good offseason talks for the Devils. And I'm so excited to see how it goes. And you know what? There's 2 playoff series right now that are looking pretty damn good.
Well, but before we get into that, I mean, we're going to talk more hockey offseason as it approaches, but we'll get to the game 7 of the Stars and Kraken because that was an amazing series. But man, Edmonton and Toronto got eliminated.
Yeah.
One in more unceremonious fashion than another, but Vegas 1-6, which the Golden Knights have been one of the best teams in hockey since their inception. That's just straight up facts. They've been consistently good. They're always a threat to make it out of the West. They're very talented. They've always had good coaching, even when they've made coaching changes. And then on the other hand, I just absolutely floored the Florida Panthers. Just steamrolled the Toronto Maple Leafs. Truly, in every way, shape, or form. I know a lot of games were very close, but the Panthers just continue rolling. I want to see them win the Cup. They're my Cinderella story. You love seeing it. I'm not sure if they get past Carolina, but they have a very good shot.
They do.
But the focus I want to take, because we're going to talk about the series, about the teams facing each other in the conference finals. This is very similar, weirdly, to the NBA talk we had earlier. The Sixers and the Suns. Edmonton and Toronto. Austin Matthews is up for a contract extension. McDavid has consistently not been able to make it past, I think, the second round with the Oilers?
I think they were in the Western Finals last year.
Okay.
But still, they can't get over the hump.
He hasn't got over the hump.
No.
Draisaitl is coming up on free agency pretty soon. Is there a shot that these guys shake free? I mean, they would be the most coveted players in all of hockey by a mile, but who has the assets? Who's trading for them? I mean, all the best teams in hockey, aside from, I guess, Jersey, and if the Rangers really want to just throw the gauntlet down again, Boston isn't making a move for them. It's very weird because hockey, I feel like when a superstar becomes available, it's so much harder to make a deal because the cap just works in a much different way. The money works in a lot different way. How you match contract. It's just, I'm very interested. I don't know where these teams go from here. I really don't. And I'm going to be very, very intrigued to see how, McDavid and Draisaitl and Matthews and the rest of these talented teams that just can't get past the barrier that's been holding them back. What do they do from here? And I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I think Toronto's in a little bit of a worse situation than Edmonton. With Edmonton, I think they're going to go for another chance next year at a cup run, and they'll have their deciding decision next season. But Toronto, hey, they did make it out of the first round. That's a big, I guess, clap on the back to them. But, you got guys. O'Reilly wasn't able to play in the playoffs, I don't think. You got Matthews. They're talented teams. And, during the regular season, which now I'm looking at differently, regular season hockey is way different than playoff hockey in just a sense that it doesn't matter how good you were, you can get caught easily in the playoffs. But no, I'm curious to see again with the cap. I think it'd be cool for us one episode to look at, I guess mostly maybe the teams in the city that never, New York metro area, whatever teams, and look at the cap. There's a great app to look at with the cap stuff, and we'll go through each team.
Oh no, 1,000%. I feel like that's just I feel like that's an off season.
Yeah.
Type
Oh,
show.
for sure. No, yeah.
Where it's like, but then again, we could always do that in the next few weeks because all the New York area teams are eliminated. Because I agree with you. I'm very interested to see what the cap situation for the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils is, and how, their upcoming free agents is going to really impact what they do in the offseason and really the upcoming free agent class in general.
But no, back to your point where you're saying, I think Edmonton's got one more year. They just got to bring in role guys. Maybe they bring the right role guys. Maybe find another goalie that can maybe strike some goal, because their goalie's atrocious and their third and fourth lines are some of the worst third and fourth lines in all of them.
Edmonton's goalie might be one of the worst I've ever seen. It like for a team that's that good. Like,
and their defense is lacking as well.
It feels like there's just odd man rushes and shots on that where there just shouldn't be.
Yeah, so
for that team.
They do. I think they have one more year until they really hit panic button. But, a couple years ago, they made a mistake. They got rid of their other first overall pick, which was Taylor Hall.
Yep.
And if they still had Taylor Hall.
Was that the trade? That was trade to Jersey, right?
Devils. Okay. Yeah. And then Hall ended up winning the MVP that season with the Devils. That was the last time Devils won the playoffs, 2018. So they don't want to make that mistake again. McDavid will be an Edmonton Oiler unless he says he wants to leave. But he's Canadian too. Canadian guys usually like to stay in Canada. Not other players do. It's funny. Canadian guys like to stay in Canada, but like other countries would rather be in the United States. But yeah, Toronto's going to be the one of the offseason. Toronto's going to be the team of the talk in the offseason for sure.
Matthews is the one. That's the one, because it's like, are they going to pay him? They should.
Yeah.
But also, where does that team go? How does that team get better? It's very, very intriguing, because he's from Arizona, right?
Is he?
I'm not.
Hold on a second.
Let me pull that up. Yeah, Matthews.
He's born in California. Yeah,
California. I mean, he's a West Coast kid, so I'm very intrigued to see what happens with him, and really that Leafs team in general. Because do they run it back? I mean, they finally got that win, but they got curb stomped by the Florida Panthers.
That was the worst series of all the playoffs by far.
I don't. Like you said, I'm very interested, and we'll dive deeper into it as we progress forward. But it's gonna be a great NHL offseason. It's gonna be a great rest of the NHL playoffs, because looking at the rest of the series, I'm speeding through this because I want to get to our NFL schedule talk. Panthers, Hurricanes. I want the Panthers to win. I think the Hurricanes win in like 6, but I think it's a toss-up. I really do. And then I got probably the Vegas Knights coming out of the West. Dallas is very good, very underrated. I feel like this is gonna sound weird. I feel like their color scheme kind of makes them like people be like, like blah. But they're a really good team. They really are. And I think, everyone's gonna want the flashy Vegas scenario. But ratings wise, I'm convinced the NHL wants Vegas to make it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a Dallas, Florida Stanley Cup final, people are gonna be like, "What?" I mean, diehards like ourselves will still watch, but that would be. I don't think that would do too much ratings. Which I don't really care. But
no, on your point, I have Hurricanes in 6 and 7. I have Golden Knights in 5-6. But no, can't wait.
Oh, so we're on the same page. There we go.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page for NBA and NHL.
I don't even want to go into our NHL picks, because mine are honestly just take the lighter and just hold it up to the
so
picks.
Unpredictable. I don't know how people do it. If I was still doing my same research that I was during the regular season, I'm curious if I would have had anything, but it really didn't translate at all.
Well, your research about Florida, you would have still been like, yeah, Boston's gonna win.
Yeah, right.
And they just didn't.
They didn't. That's why playoff hockey's awesome. And final thing I wanted to say, I forgot to say, Dougie Hamilton for the Devils probably has to get off-season surgery on his wrist. He hurt it in the Rangers series.
I saw that.
I'm curious to see if that had any. He looked fine in the Hurricane series, but he'll probably get off-season surgery. On to the schedule.
Yeah, I didn't let me hit the trans. You know what? Whatever. Who cares? Transition. I don't care. NFL schedule got released. That is really the extent of the NFL talk. I mean, look, I'll be real with you. I saw the Quinn and Williams thing. Oh, he took the Jets out of his spot. It's all negotiation tactics, right? If we look at the date as I'm pointing to the top of my laptop screen, it is May 16th. You will not hear me worry about the Quinn and Williams contract situation until we hit July. Because why panic? The Jets aren't trading him. The Jets aren't getting rid of him. The Jets know that he's the centerpiece of their defense. You saw what happened when he wasn't on the field last year. They're going to pay him. I wouldn't worry about it. But the New York Jets schedule, my friend.
Wow.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. And we can talk about the Giants too a little bit, but this New York Jets schedule, my sleep schedule is screwed. That's all I got to say.
Monday night football, Sunday night football, Thursday night football. Come on.
Black Friday football,
new.
Which according to Adam Schefter, the Jets are in discussions to annually host that game. Which
really?
If that's the case,
could be their own little like Thanksgiving for the Lions and the Cowboys kind of thing.
Yes,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, for those of you that obviously continue to listen, I write for Jets Insider. Find all my work on jetsinsider.com. I did an article about the my takeaways and predictions for the Jets 2023 schedule. So I figured, considering Toomey also likes the Jets, we could run through the schedule. I'll give my thoughts that I put in the article. Toomey can give his prediction for each game as well. Obviously, it is May 16th. These are not set in stone. Giant disclaimer. These are not set in stone. It is May 16th. Lots of things can change. These are my thoughts at this current moment at 4:47 on May 16th. So without further ado, let's get into it. First game of the year. Jets playing their first primetime 9/11 game in years. I think it's been since 2011 when they played the Dallas Cowboys. I have the Jets winning this game. I think the home crowd's going to be rocking. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense comes out firing. And quite frankly, Jets have competed with Buffalo with the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. And on top of that, have beaten Buffalo with the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. You're going to have the Jets at their healthiest, their strongest. Obviously, Buffalo at their healthiest and strongest. Von Miller most likely will not be back. Buffalo is still dealing with some other injuries along those lines. I got the Jets winning week 1.
I'm looking at that. It's good. So we obviously every year Jets play the Bills twice.
Yes.
I think that's an automatic split. It goes to that. I really do, especially with how good both these teams are.
You're taking away the predictions,
no,
man.
That's what I'm saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. As much as I want to say they're going to win this game, I don't think so. I think the Bills are coming up. They're getting late into this whole offseason. They truly are.
Wait. You think the Jets are losing the one at home?
Yes, I got the one loss at home.
Okay. So week 2, Jets going to Dallas. Aaron Rodgers owns Dallas. He loves playing Dallas. I have the Jets. Yeah, I have the Jets winning this one. So I have them starting off 2-0.
I have W as well.
Okay. Week 3, September 24th, 1 p.m. Versus New England. By the way, the Dallas game is a 4:25 start in week 2 at Dallas. Week 3, I think the Jets curb stomp New England. I think that the difference last year was having the quarterback, and having a quarterback is going to make the difference. Patriots have the worst quarterback situation in the AFC East. I don't think they're all that talented of a roster. Obviously, you still have to worry about Belichick, but I think the Jets win this by 2 scores. I think that they start off 3-0, and that would take us into week 4. So what do you got for this one?
Yep, same insight. They're going to roll over them. Finally give it. Is it? That's away. It'd be cool to get that win against the Patriots at home for the first time in however long.
No. Week 3's at
we're home. No, yeah, Jets are. We haven't won in since. But no, yeah, Jets are going to roll through them 100%.
And that brings us to week 4. Prime time. Sunday night football. Home against Kansas City Chiefs. this is my first loss of the year for the Jets. I think that Kansas City is the best team in football, and I think the Jets lose in a shootout, a 34-31 type loss where the Jets basically prove they are one of the best teams in the AFC and that they can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City, but I don't think they win.
I have a loss as well. Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think it gets to a point where primetime games, that's where Patrick Mahomes shines, and I don't think they got it.
Yeah. So with obviously time constraints, just to rattle off the next two, I have the Jets traveling to Denver in week 5 and picking up a win. And then, another game against probably the second best team in football, I have them losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. So after their first 6 games, I would have the Jets at 4-2.
I had them at 3-3.
So do you have them losing to Denver and Philly?
No, I have them losing to Bills, Eagles, Chiefs.
Okay. Then we have the bye, obviously. Coming out the bye, not bye, obviously. They have a week 7 bye. Coming out the bye, their next 2 games, they are hosted or on the road against the New York Giants. Not really a road game. I think the Jets have a little bit more talent than the Giants. Obviously, their coaching will make that. I think it's a very close game because Brian Daboll is probably my favorite coach in the NFL, or at least top 5. I think it's close. I think the Jets pull that one out. And then I think the Jets win Monday night shootout against the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert. So that would put them, I think, at 6-2 at this point.
What'd you get to week 9?
Yeah.
Week 9, I have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have them 5-3.
Okay.
So
you have them beating the Giants and the Chargers.
I do, yes.
Okay. The next 2, I have 2 losses. Vegas isn't a great team. They're rebuilding. I just think this is one of those, and every contender has them. The traveling to the West Coast on, Sunday night after a Monday night game. Maybe it's some jet lag. Like I just think, I'm not predicting the Jets to win 14 games. I'm not. I'm simply not doing that. I think this is one of those games where, the Jets overlook an opponent in Vegas because they play Buffalo the next week. They're not focusing on that opponent. And then I think traveling to Buffalo, like you said, Toom, I think it's a split. I just think the Jets won the game at home in week 1. So I have them losing back-to-back. So that would put them at this point 6-4. Yeah.
That's great insight from right there. You're really going into depth with it. I really love it. I had them being the Raiders and I had them being the Bills there.
Okay. So after that, I have them rattling off a 4-game win streak. I think they beat Miami at home on Black Friday. I think they easily take care of Atlanta. They easily take care of Houston. And I think they travel to Miami. And then because in order to really compete for the division title in a very tight AFC East, you got to sweep 2 of the 3 teams. I think they sweep. I think the big sweep they get outside New England, which we'll get to, is Miami. So I have them going from 6-4 to 10-4 after these 4 games where they beat Miami, Atlanta, Houston, and Miami once again.
I had them winning 4 as well in a row.
Yeah. And then to round out the year, I think they once again overlook Commanders, but I think that's more of just a tightly contested loss where it's one of those weird late season games, a 1 p.m. start, hosting Washington. It's just one of those games. And it'll be that game where everyone goes oh, are the Jets not for real? But at that point, they'll be still competing for playoff position. They might have playoff position essentially locked up. They might overlook a team once again. And I have them beating Cleveland on Thursday night and then beating New England in week 18. So essentially, I have them finishing with a record of 12-5.
This is funny. I have them so go through all that. At my point of the year, week 9, I have them going on a 10-game win streak. Early on the year, 10-game win streak, and then lose to the Patriots last week of the year just because they're sitting everyone. So I have them at 13-4.
All right.
I
So,
think
like,
that'd be hilarious.
here's my perspective, and I said this in the article. I'll rehash this. I as things stand, I think the Jets are an 11-12 win team. I think they can obviously get the 13 with how much talent they have. And what it comes down to is the Jets elevated their offense simply by acquiring Aaron Rodgers. Their offense could be that much better. This is a team that with Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco, and Chris Trevor competed against some of the best teams in football and beat some of the best teams in football. Mind you, they were a few drops or certain plays away from making the playoffs last season. The Braxton Berrios play in Minnesota. The Buffalo game where they could have won that one. They beat Buffalo. The New England game where if Zach Wilson played again, middling NFL quarterback, they probably win both New England games. This can be a very good team in my eyes. I truly think that.
Oh my God. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, they're going to be right there with everyone else in the league.
And then I mean, have you looked at the Giants schedule yet? We
Not at all.
We're running on a short time, but if I pull up their schedule, they got Dallas first, then Seattle, Washington, wow, this is not the full schedule. Cool. Honestly, gonna be real. We'll talk about the Giants next week. I'm not. I want to give the Giants the same time we gave the Jets. But
no, we will.
We obviously lean more Jets on this show. We talk about the Giants a lot, but we lean more heavier with the Jets. Honestly, I think the Giants are a playoff team once again. Just rudimentary, surface level kind of view of things. I'm excited to see it. Daniel Jones in year 2 with Brian Daboll. I'm excited for Jalen Hyatt. I'm excited to see what an improved defense does. And I think the Giants are, if not the first wild card, the second wild card, because I don't think they overtake Philly in that division. So
I see great futures for both teams.
Yeah. On that note, we arrived at the end of the show. So before we head out, to me, what are you looking for? What are you looking forward to in the next week?
Lakers playoffs. My future in general. My future, where I'm leading to. The rest of the NHL playoffs and, more Yankees baseball. And my last comment, this is my last show I will ever be doing in this room. So that's good because I hate this room. It was a great run. But no, this is it. I get to go to my home studio, which is just terrific.
There we go. For me, I'm interested to see how the Mets play out. I'm interested to see if the Knicks make any moves or there's rumblings of any moves. Same with the Rangers. Excited to see if the Jets make some rudimentary, like some moves on the side of the rosters. But more importantly, and Toomey brought this up, I'm excited because, tomorrow at this time we'll be well graduated. I'm pursuing a grad year. I'm pursuing a master's degree in communication. It's crazy. It's crazy how time flies. It's crazy how, I started this show, thinking, oh, it's graduating college so far away, and yet I'm here. It's tomorrow. So it's exciting. I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm excited for
black.
What? No.
He's going weird. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, I know. I'm excited for what the future holds for myself, Toomey, Evan as well. It's going to be great. And on that note, that brings us to the end of the Stay and Never Sleep show, the last show that we will be doing as college undergrads. So for myself and Ryan Toomey, thank you guys for joining us on another great episode. We always have a blast doing this. Thank you guys for all the interaction in the comments. You guys bring amazing perspective, and I can't wait to keep seeing that from you guys. So once again, for myself and Toomey, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll catch you next time.